Okay, waiting for people to join. Maybe I scared everyone away. Okay, we've got one. One person came back. It's too scary last time. So during the break, I was chatting with one of the students who mentioned that during the previous exercise, they had the sense that the mind was like space. And if you look at Buddhist meditation texts, they describe all minds, and this was in chapter 6 or something. If you go back, I think right around where I was discussing the 9 abidings, I gave you a link to chapters 5 through 8, I believe, or 7. In any case, there's a description of what consciousness is in Buddhism. And consciousness generally is described as having 2 qualities. One is being clear, the other is being knowing. So to be a mind, the most fundamental or reductive properties of a mind in a conventional sense are that it is clear and knowing. What does that mean? So your eye, for example, your eyeball is not a mind because it's the eyeball by itself doesn't know anything. If you take your eyeball out of your head, don't do that. But if your eyeball came out of your head, it doesn't see anything. It's only because there is a mind working in coordination with the eyeball that the eyeball sees something. And in the same way, there are even, well, I don't want to get too weird with this, but in Buddhism, consciousness is considered to be non-physical. And so it has a relationship with your physical sense organs and your brain, but the mind itself is considered to be non-physical. And the mind-body problem, which is a classical problem in Western thought, when you start talking about the mind being something different from the body, you have to explain how the two communicate. That's the mind-body problem. And in Buddhism, that problem is solved by way of what's called wind or prana. And so there is a very, very subtle physical substance that accompanies every mind, and that is part of what's doing the communication between the mind and the body. And earlier in the course, I was talking about when you look at the body maps, even though there's all sorts of organs and all sorts of stuff running through the center of the body, for some strange reason, even though there's a bunch of organs and other things in there, there's no structure that runs like this through the middle of the cavity of the body. And yet, nonetheless, you have an emotional body map in which most of your emotions occur in the center of the body. And they usually start around here. Why? Well, in Indo-Tibetan psychology, you could say, you have a wind system or a prana system, and you could call this a number of different terms, but qi is the one you might be most familiar with from the Chinese medical system. You have these channels that run through the body that aren't really physical. They're a subtle physical substance, but if you opened yourself up, you don't find anything there that is those things. And that's where you feel your emotions, is in that channel system when the winds of your mind start to move. Okay, so without getting too weird, because that's already weird enough, consciousness is non-physical in Buddhism. And so when you have an experience of consciousness, you experience it as not having any physical properties. And so when you have experiences where you're getting closer to the fundamental conventional qualities of mind, including tactile awareness, you will experience tactile awareness in such a way that It's like space in the sense that it doesn't seem to have any physical qualities to it, except that it knows, right? It knows things. It's aware of the tactile sensations, but that mind itself doesn't seem to have any physical properties and doesn't actually seem to be entirely limited by the ordinary physical space in which it's inhabiting. It seems to be actually quite strange when you can get a real sense of what minds are. Okay, so that being said, the question, which is a really important one, and the comment from the previous session was, someone said, I find that it's very different when I do full body meditation, i.e. opening the tactile sense gate, i.e. Being aware of the entire tactile sense sphere. They said, I find that very different from just meditating on the 5 points. And again, the reason for this is relatively simple. If you're meditating on the 5 points, you're still actively holding some artificial object. That isn't the complete, you're not yet going to be able to experience the fundamental nature of tactile awareness because you're actively involved with holding some object. And that's going to be taking up your awareness. But when you zoom out and you simply become aware of the tactile body, in that case, that mind isn't busy doing something. By nature, mind knows things. You understand? By nature, one of its fundamental natures is that mind cognizes, mind knows, mind is aware. And therefore, when you zoom out and you simply let the mind fill the space that it's already in, because it's already filling the tactile body, then you experience it more like it is. In other words, it is space-like in that it doesn't have any physical properties, and it is aware of what's going on, right? Another aspect of consciousness is that it gives rise to experiences. So that's another thing that can fall under clear, but let us not linger too long. Let's get back to the practice. So once again, resume your standing posture, or if your legs are too tired, too shaky, or whatever, this is not an endurance contest. You can sit down. Except for you, Alex, you have to stay standing. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right, here we go. So, since we're very warmed up at this point, just fill the left foot with awareness. Fill everything below the knee with awareness on the left. Fill the left leg from the hip to the foot with awareness. Now hold the whole left leg. Let go of the left leg. Fill the whole right foot with awareness. Fill everything from the right knee into the right foot with awareness. Fill everything from the right hip to the right foot with awareness. And hold the whole right leg. Fill the hips with awareness, letting go of the right leg. The whole pelvic region. Expand that down to include the tailbone in particular, perineum, anus, sexual organs. Without losing the pelvis, but ignoring the legs for now, pull the awareness up and include the waist region. Pull the awareness up again to include the diaphragm region. Pull the awareness up again to include the chest region. And now just be aware of the entire torso of the body, including the pelvis. Let go of the torso, move the mind into the left shoulder. Expand it down to include the bicep, elbow, forearm, wrist, palm and back of hand, all the way into the fingertips and the nail beds. Now hold the whole left arm. Release the left arm. Put all your attention now into the right shoulder. Stretch it down to the bicep, elbow, forearm, wrist, palm and back of hand, down to the fingertips and nail beds. Now you're holding the whole right arm. Move your awareness into the bottom third of the neck, including the connections into the collarbones and the upper spine. Middle of the neck. Continue up, include the whole neck, and just hold the neck now as the object of meditation. Now release the neck. Place your mind in the joint between the neck and the skull. And expand your awareness out to the scalp and the forehead, ears, eyebrows, eyes, nose, cheeks, chin, upper lip, the actual lips, inside the mouth and the throat. And now, once again, it's up to you. You can either do the 5 points or you can do full body, but start with the 5 points in either case. Place the attention at the crown of the head on the most sensitive point of the scalp. Stretch the awareness down to the left hand, into the fingertips and the nail beds. Stretch it down again to the right hand, all the way into the fingertips and nail beds. Stretch it down again to the left foot, to the heel, the toe tips and the nail beds. Stretch it down to the right foot, to the heel, toe tips and nail beds. Hold all 5 points. If this is already a struggle for you, then begin your walking session. If you think you can go further, then stay with me and we'll do a little bit more standing before we walk. If the 5 points are relatively stable, then add your left leg from hip to foot. Add your right leg from hip to foot. And your pelvis, waist, diaphragm, chest, left arm, right arm, neck, and the rest of your skull. Become aware of in front of you, everything facing to the front, rather, everything facing to the back, everything facing to the left, everything facing to the right, everything above, everything below. And now, as best you can, just rest your mind like a mirror. Rest your mind like space, open space that is aware of the body. Without losing that awareness, begin your walking meditation. And we will do 15 minutes. As a reminder, go as slow as you need to. If you lose awareness, either scale back to an easier version or take a break, reestablish the awareness, and carry on. Okay. Rest the mind in the lower portion of the abdomen again. Okay. If there are questions, let me know. Otherwise, you can depart and I'll end the stream. Our last session of the day is at 7 o'clock. Okay. No questions. See you at 7.